Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We have an extremely special guest today. So if you're listening, if you're watching, make sure to pay attention, listen to the whole thing. We have the pleasure of having Nick Slavik on the channel today for the interview. He's the owner of Nick Slavik Painting and Restoration. He's on the board of the Painting Contractors Association. It sounds like he used to jump out of planes. So there's a lot of cool stuff here. Welcome, Nick. It's a pleasure to have you.
Oh, thanks, Caleb. Appreciate the opportunity, man.
Of course. Now there's kind of a lot going on here. I'm sure I missed a few things in that intro. Is there any way you can kind of expand on that a little bit?
Let's see. Human male, father of four, husband, lover of the wilderness, host of Ask a Painter Live. It's a content creation and influencing and live media show brand that's been around for 8+ years. Other than that, PCA painting company. I think you got it, man. That rounds it out.
Awesome. So which one came first?
Human male.
Okay, I guess that
Oh,
makes
no,
sense.
sorry. Yeah, no, actually last week was the 17th anniversary of my painting company. This is the 32nd/33rd year I've been associated with this industry. My father got me started when I was 10 years old. Painting business has been around for 17 years now. Ask a Painter, the show kicked off about 8+ years ago, and it's kind of morphed into a separate brand. I do a lot of public speaking, educating for the industry, content creation for some of my vendors, and yeah, a whole bunch of fun stuff like that.
I feel like, when I was trying to do my research to learn as much as I could about you, about your business and everything like that, I feel like, at least from what I saw, maybe this is just because of your aesthetic, but it seems like you are like a master craftsman, like to the T. Like that is how I would describe you. Do you think that that's accurate?
Yeah, I'm a self-proclaimed master craftsperson. And in a world where, Canadian painters have the red seal, where you actually get certified as I have a certain amount of competence. We have the unions, IUPAT in the United States that can walk you through apprentice, journeyman, and things like that. But
Mm.
once in a while, people say, well, Nick, that's really interesting. You call yourself a master craftsperson. Who gives you the right? How do you determine that? And I will,
Yeah.
I will say this. There is no formal designation, even through the Painting Contractors Association. Sorry about that. I think I got the same bug you do. Um, but here's what I know and can prove right now, which is if any paint business were to hire me, I would blow your painters out of the water with quality and speed. I can restore the exterior of a Victorian mansion by myself and do it very quickly, very, very quickly. I can recruit painters. I can train painters. I can lead other humans. I can job cost. I can do accounting. I can do marketing. I could run a very large painting business as a general manager. I would probably be the best estimator you have in your company. I would probably be one of the most effective project managers in your company. And I certainly would blow your painters out of the water. Now, obviously, every time you say this, there's always somebody better than you at all this stuff, certainly in business and all that. But I would just put out the challenge to people that honestly, I'm a really good generalist. I have a lot of grit. I have a really high pain tolerance, and I'm very impatient. And I'm also very accountable. And when us business owners think about all the people we employ, very few humans have super high elevated levels and all that stuff. I know this about myself. It's a special weapon for certain things, but it's also a detriment to a lot of the things we do too. So kind of like knowing yourself is good, but certainly a master craftsperson. There's not many things in the painting world I can't do very well.
So what do you think some of the people who are missing out on that? Maybe they own a paint, like some people I've talked to, they're like, "Oh, I painted twice in my life." I'm like, "You own the
Yep.
company, you know?"
Yep.
Um, what do you think those people are missing out on by not having that experience and they just kind of maybe they sub everything out, maybe they don't, they're not super aligned with the craft. What do you think is kind of missing there and is that deferring them from running a good business?
No, it's definitely not. I know lots of good examples of people who have never painted before and have some of the most prestigious paint companies in the United States. There's pros and cons to everything. At the end of it, I do believe that leaders and managers. So I kind of put people into like general employment into three chunks. You have technicians, and in a painting company, painters. You have managers who manage the technicians, and you have leaders who lead the managers who manage the technicians. I believe that once you get to the manager or the leader thing, you need to be exceptional in something. And exceptional doesn't have to be best in the world. It just has to be better than anybody else you can find or better than anybody else in the company. One of those things can be accountability,
Hmm.
inspiring humans, coaching humans, project management, estimating. It can be any of those things. It doesn't necessarily have to be the craft. Pros and cons. There is not one single thing that we can encounter in the craft, in my business, that I don't have a deep data set for, many solutions. I mean, there's literally nothing I have not seen before. Painters cannot come up with a problem or a difficult situation in a house that I can't tell them exactly how to do it good and fast.
Yeah.
Downside of all this is I thought it was going to be my superpower, having like knowledge of the molecular level of coatings, like this
Mhm.
stuff. Turns out our clients don't care about that at all, right? And at some point, you can have so much knowledge that you can't use it for to add any more value to your clients. A lot of the times, clients want a transaction. I want my deck stained. I want to make a very quick transaction. I don't want to overpay. I don't want to be
Mhm.
taken advantage of, and I want you in and out. Me talking about the molecular science of oil
Yeah.
deck stains or hybrid deck stains, after a while, they're like, listen, man, I would like my deck stained. Don't take advantage of me. Don't overcharge me and just get in and out. And so at some point you do realize like being a master crafts person, I can, for a painting company who's for an owner who's never painted before, you are going to pay extra to have people around you to solve those problems. I put in the
Yeah.
work. I don't have to do that. So that's one advantage.
Okay. So where are you actually placed in your business? Like I know you have project managers, but do you kind of sort of take on that role sometimes because of your knowledge or not really?
Yeah, so as the business morphs currently, if you had to distill all my time, you look at my Google Calendar and say, well, Nick, you can call yourself whatever you want, CEO, president, owner, founder, whatever. But how do you spend
Mhm.
your time? My time is spent with operations and marketing, basically.
Okay.
And I am the master craftsman of the company. I do believe that there is a place in a company that holds the craft to a high esteem for somebody to be the standard setter in the company. Um, there are many standards, right? There is something we're going to get a callback on. There's something that the client will pay the bill for. And then there's something that I would consider a much higher calling. And as the master crafts person, I have to know what deliverables are at each of those and coach my people to get there. And when somebody says, does this cabinet door meet the standard? I am the final arbiter of that.
Okay. Where do you think all of this came from for you? Like from the army, the dedication, where did this diligence come from?
Yeah. So life can be divided largely into healthy and unhealthy pursuits, right? And from a very young age, I was given a work ethic pretty unrivaled, which I've found in the world. And
Mhm.
I've held it as this badge of honor of, listen, there's nothing I can't grit through. I hammer, I'm a task master. You
Mhm.
give me 100 things to do, I'll finish them in half the time as anybody else. And I held that as a badge of honor. But really, the more I learn about myself and my upbringing, I realize that this hypervigilance and this sort of like no safety net thing, where if I have to do it, otherwise it won't be done right. That was actually instilled into me by the way I was conditioned as a child, and it's actually not that healthy. Now, it's produced some really great things, but then there's always this con side of it, right? Where it can actually
Mhm.
start causing some problems once you're in a stable, professional, large business. So just knowing yourself, knowing that there's a double-edged sword of every one of these good traits, and then
Mhm.
sort of crafting a life around that based on what your company needs is a good thing. So that's where it came from. And learning to manage it and morph with the needs of my company has really been the last 2 to 3 years of my life.
So I kind of want to dive deeper into that a little bit. Do you mean let's just give an example here. Like, does this mean that you're doing tasks that you as the owner shouldn't be doing, or you as the captain steering the ship should not be doing? I mean, if you're let's use the ship example. You can't steer the ship and be manning the sails and be swabbing the deck all at the same time, or else the ship's going to steer off course. Is that kind of what you mean? Like because and I kind of have like the same thing where it's like, oh, I'll just do it. I'll just do it. I'll just do it. But like you need to, as a leader, like kind of empower your team and train them and encourage them and give them the empowerment they need in order to do it themselves so that they can kind of make those decisions opposed to just holding their hand or just like, oh, I'll just do it myself. Is that kind of what you mean, or is that totally off
Not
course here?
so yes, but not traditionally in the way. When somebody says, I have to do it myself, otherwise it won't get done at all, typically people will think painting, project management, estimating, coordination, sweeping the
Yeah.
shop, cleaning the shop toilet. I've actually had a very good, healthy boundary with all that stuff. Where this falters is I've not asked for help as an entrepreneur and a business owner. Because there is nobody in my company that can help me with some of the things that this company needs. I need to reach out to the PCA, to other people who are much farther along than me. So, really,
Mhm.
where I faltered in this is not, well, give me the paintbrush. Where I faltered was, I need to get my business from 2.2 to 3, and I'm just going to figure it out myself. And
Yeah,
that's my version of that unhealthy sort of action.
I understand. So have you like reached out to some of these people? Like what's kind of been sort of the first, hand raises in that category?
Oh no, I was dragged kicking and screaming into this. What it is not obvious to me to do that. Like I was raised in a very regressive painting business where everybody was
Mhm.
my enemy. You wouldn't get on a
Yeah.
podcast and tell people what brush you use. That's a secret, man. Then the
Yeah.
secret's out, you know? And you laugh because it's hilarious. Like we all buy the same pants, we all buy the same brushes, we all buy the same paint. There is no
Mhm.
secrets in this. The secret is consistent golden rule stuff. Finding good people, treating them well, coaching the hell out of them, and running a rigorous business, job costing, and things like that. So, yeah, that's kind of yeah. I got dragged kicking and screaming because I had an unhealthy relationship in this. It wasn't obvious to me to reach out. I had some friends in the industry. I love sharing stuff about the craft and this and that.
Mhm.
And people wedge their way into my lives via Ask a Painter saying, hey, Nick, you seem like a guy we want to hang out with. And I was like, oh, come on, I'm not sharing any secrets. And they literally wore me down like a stone on the beach when the tide comes over it. And
Yeah.
eventually they were like, hey, you should actually like ask for some help. And then 5 years later, I actually asked for some help. And literally, you can look at like the a graph of success in my business, success as a human father, husband, master craftsperson, hockey stick curve right in the last 3 to 5 years. And it
Mhm.
exactly coincides with me asking for help and getting involved with the PCA.
I feel like that is a little bit of a common theme in the industry. I see it in the Facebook groups. I see, somebody asking for help, and there's just people just tearing them down, man. I'm like, come on, like it's not that deep. Um, I feel like it's sort of the elephant in the room for the industry, but I feel like there's like a bitterness or like a saltiness about people who have kind of been in that position, but they stayed in that position and they didn't ask for help, and they're kind of stuck and they feel just angry of like 25 years of doing this, and they take it out all in the Facebook comments. Is
Caleb,
that true or no?
yeah, you are an excellent read of people. For me and one of my closest colleagues that travel around the country, we get a lot
Mhm.
of airplane time together to ideate about this stuff. And we keep coming back to this thing where painters be angry. Like there's just
Painters
this,
do be angry, man.
oh, there's this resentment and there's this whole thing of like, I will post that, hey, we just finished restoring this Victorian mansion, and somebody would be like, well,
Yeah,
I did one of those too. And we're like, yes. We agree that you
yeah.
have also done this. This is talking about my company and things like this. So, um, I have a theory around all this, and a lot of people in the industry with me who lead the industry, especially at the PCA level, we kind of have a theory about how this gets going, which is there's not that many professional painting companies in the United States. And by professional means consistent work, pay increases, benefits, a path forward to something other than being a laborer. There's
Yeah.
really not that many out there. So if you're a really good painter in this industry and you ascribe to something more in life, you are basically the luckiest human on earth if you find one of these companies. It does. I would argue you almost can't find them. You stumble across them. There's so few of them. Because of that, people go off on their own. And
Yeah.
the typical conversation is, well, listen, Caleb owns a painting company. He's only paying me 28 bucks an hour. I'm going to go off on my own and charge $38 an hour and actually get paid what I'm worth. Most people don't understand because they've never understood what it takes to run a business that you need to be charging and producing 75 an hour just to run a standard business to pay for insurance and taxes and all that other stuff. So we have an
Yeah.
industry full of people who didn't intend to be business owners. They are mainly technicians who got thrust, some unwilling, into owning a business because there's no other options for them.
Yeah.
What I'm not saying is that these are bad people or that they're not potentially business owners, but I can safely say all of this because I was that. I
Yeah.
left my own family business because there was no opportunities. My father didn't even provide an opportunity for me. And that says volumes about our industry. And I was that regressive painter that everybody was my enemy, scorched earth, resentful, all this and that. And I've had to completely reinvent myself to be much more abundance mindset, much more open, and much more giving to other people. And everything good after that has happened to me because of all that.
Hmm. Well, I appreciate you for kind of diving deep into this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of things that I think you said there that I sort of wanted to unpack.
Yeah.
Uh, I saw you talk about this on a podcast with Mike Gore Hickman,
Oh, yeah.
where you talked about transforming yourself and how that transformed into your business. I am a big believer that your business, especially in like the first 5 years, is a reflection of yourself. If I have a problem in my business, if we're not signing new clients, if our ad campaigns are doing terrible, whatever, usually it's a reflection of myself. There's
Yeah.
something that I have not personally done. Why do clients leave? Okay, what have I done or what am I not good at? What skill has transitioned into that? It's usually a personal problem that reflects into the business. It's not usually like a business problem, especially in those first years. So
Yeah.
I feel like your business is a reflection of yourself,
Yes.
first and foremost. Um, how have you kind of changed yourself in order to reflect more positively into your business, into your culture, and into some of those things?
It's pretty clear to me that the choke point in this entire industry is lack of management everywhere.
Okay.
It certainly wasn't mine. And when you theorize, we believe that 90% plus of all painting businesses in the United States are single owner operators or 1.5 people, which is I have a helper in the summer. And
Hmm.
you would theorize, well, that's a lot. That's a highly fragmented, unprofessionalized industry. Why aren't 80% of the businesses 1 million plus, 3 million plus, 5 million plus? And if we're all going to be honest, the pinch point is the humans in charge of them.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
when you instead of just saying there's a bunch of stupid people in our industry, so nobody succeeds, what's more sophisticated answer to that is that they start off as tech. If we're going under the assumption that they leave a company to start their own because there's no good companies to work for, they're a
Mhm.
technician. And then some of them are really good salespeople and visionaries. So they think, I want to grow this company big. I can sell a bunch of work. I can also paint. What you're missing there, remember that third group of people, that management thing?
Mhm.
Literally, most business owners are technicians and visionaries. They are anathema to management. Like the opposite of Nick Slavik is a manager, right? I am a visionary. I am a technician. I'm uh, I'm impatient. I'm optimistic. I just like doing a bunch of stuff and I like looking out into the future. Typically, people like me do not want office hours, a uniform, standard one-on-one meetings, listening and answering and asking questions, not just offering solutions. So honestly, the thing that I had to reinvent was you take a look at the industry and you realize things fail because of the day-to-day management. I don't think most
Okay.
painting companies have problem painting. We're actually really good technicians in this country. I don't think
Mhm.
people have trouble having a vision of saying, I want to grow this big and I want to have passive income. I want to be on a beach drinking a blue drink. The problem is nobody connects any of that stuff. So it's literally that boring, mundane day-to-day management. And I say that because it's boring to me, but it's not to other
Yeah.
people. So I've had to take myself and turn myself into that manager until we get to the point where we can afford a rigorous day-to-day manager.
Okay. So what exactly, I guess there's a couple things I wanted to ask here. So one, do you think it's like actually the people are not good in those positions or they don't have like the systems and the training in order to kind of build out that position?
Uh, yes to both of those. Also, there is no managers. I mean, they're
Okay.
just,
But it's
it's
like a
not
lack of
that these
management.
companies have managers. The problem is, if every company is, I mean, you could say the majority of the companies in the United States are one owner plus some humans. So what you
Yeah.
have is a visionary and some painters.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
it. And there's
Okay.
and that day-to-day management stuff, like if a human is there, it's likely they don't have the sophisticated processes there because you're already talking about the 1% of the industry that would have a project manager or an estimator or an office coordinator. And then the
Okay.
chances that they have insanely rigorous standard operating procedures, office routines, checks, balances, things like that, job
Mhm.
descriptions, pay scales, regular meeting intervals. I mean, you start to get to this thing where it's like, oh man, no wonder like painting businesses are hard or only last 18 months on average. Like,
Yeah.
number one, I don't think they exist. If they do, they're probably hanging on by a thread. And
Okay.
number three, they probably don't have systems.
So that's a pretty, I feel like, daunting task for a lot of people. Getting from 1 to 1.5 to, the manager, a couple crews. Like,
Yep.
how do you think people can kind of make that transition? Like, what are those steps? What are some of the first things you need to do? How do you transition into like you and sometimes a partner running around like, a chicken with your head cut off to, a systemized, structured business with like an estimator and a project manager? Like, what are some of those steps?
Um, so the access to the information in order to grow your business is free everywhere. I mean, and not even just in the painting industry. Like, my God, in Ask a Painter, I give you an 8-step process with links to all my resources from
Mhm.
growing your business from 0 to 40 people. How many people
Mhm.
do this? Not many, right?
Yeah.
So, access to information is not the thing. Um, to put it all into perspective, probably only 7% of all businesses in the United States ever create $1 million of revenue or higher. So, what that tells to me is that this is hard. This isn't a slam dunk, right? It just doesn't automatically happen. You need a special person doing consistent things to professionalize your business over a very long period of time. Theoretically, it takes 3 years to professionalize a business, give or take. So, this is hard. Access to information is not the thing. It's the humans who have access to this information that are the limiting choke point. So it's pretty easy. You start with a foundation of a proven process so that when you paint cabinets, you know what brush, what sprayer, what coating, so that there's no failures. You
Mhm.
create a metric-based estimating process, a metric-based marketing process, you create a production process, and then you create all your HR and leadership sort of things in the company. And then over that, you just have to manipulate the humans in there or find new humans as your business grows. Having said that, that's taken me 3 to 5 years to go from 0 to 40 people in a stabilized professional business. So it's not a slam dunk.
Okay. All right. Um, how are you, no, no, how are you exactly like standardizing some of those processes? Like in your SOPs, are you filming training videos? Are you writing everything down? Are you like live training people? Like what does that systemization look like in practice?
Yeah, so I think there's options. Just like in marketing, you can use your effort or your money. Just like in training, you can use effort and money. Um,
Mhm.
I have I first went down the road of the most rigorous training videos and learning management system this industry's ever seen. Soon to find out that all it is finding the right people and a lot of human interaction. So literally what our standard operating procedures, we have four for winter work: walls, ceiling, trim, cabinet. All of them are
Mhm.
one page, like painting processes. There's
Yep.
at the minimum, there's 17 steps. At the most, there's 24 steps. And this is to paint all the trim in a house, right?
Yeah.
And in the first week or two of training in my apprenticeship program, we take that list out and we train every step of it and show them how to do it. After their initial apprenticeship, we pair them with a master craftsman to go from anywhere from 3 months to 12 months of human interaction. There is no videos, right? There is no other things. I know that this happens in the field. If it doesn't happen in the field, I recruited the wrong person. We have to find somebody new.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Interesting. So how do you professionalize your business, standardize some of this stuff while also, focusing on sales and making sure that you're not, going down the gutter. Like in my agency, I made that big mistake last time. We tried to scale, it didn't really work out. I spent all my time focusing on scaling that we were not getting in the leads that we needed to sign our own clients. So like I know like how does this transition and like how do you scale properly without, it all crumbling down?
Yeah, the truth is, and this is one of my big competitive advantages where, yeah, it just takes 80 to 100 hours a week and it's not fair. And you're
Mhm.
not going to have work-life balance. You're not going to see your family as much. You're going to be tired. You're going to feel overstressed. You're going to have to do all the things that a paint business needs, plus do the effort to scale it. So you can have all that, but you just
Mhm.
can't have it all right now. So if
Okay.
anybody would say, I'm going to schedule out 40 hours a week and I'm going to run this business, I'm also going to scale it, I would say, if you can do all that, you are likely the next Elon Musk. It's just not
Mhm.
going to happen. So really, that was my internal monologue. And I try to say that to as many people as possible because a lot of people think that they're doing it wrong if it takes them more than 40 hours a week. And I would say 40 is what your paint business demands of you just to stay alive. Now, if you want to scale, you better start adding on to that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about like leadership here on your team. What are some of the ways that, with your project managers or while you're doing this training, how can you empower these people to actually, sort of be their own mini leaders and be the leaders of their crew without just like, ruling with an iron fist here?
Um, the hack to all this is being a world-class recruiter and getting good people. It's the computer coding and software thing, garbage in, garbage out. If you feed in a bunch of bad data to an algorithm, you're going to get a bunch of bad data out, no matter how good your processes or mentorship or coaching or empowerment are. So honestly, I'll talk about some specific things I do, but getting 80% there to an effective leader in my company is literally just finding a good human to input into the system. So after that, I believe that a very crass way of putting my job as a leader is to overpay people, lower their stress, and find other good coworkers. That is the base of what most employees want. And if you start with a base of that, that will give you the longest period of stability and longevity of them with the company so that you can even enact this stuff. After that, the things that I've taught myself to do over the last couple of years is listen, ask a lot of questions, ask a lot of personal questions. How was your weekend? How's your family doing? How are you feeling? How's the stress level? Don't jump to solutions. Have a standard weekly one-on-one rhythm, same time, same place, KPIs, questions about them, tasks, things like that, and support them to a very insane level all the time. And
Okay.
there's going to be many times where people bring you the same problem over and over again, and all you want to do is get frustrated. And it takes every calorie that I can expend to keep a level head, ask a question, even if I know the answer, and have them work through the problem.
Okay. I feel like everyone always likes to use the excuse that it's hard to find good people. I can't find good work. Is that
Yep.
true?
Yeah.
And how do you actually find these people? I saw in like, some of your videos that you talked about how you kind of sort of make them, you find them in a position where like they are, not happy, not fulfilled, not paid enough, or just not, doing something that they really find purpose in and kind of almost either bringing them to the industry or like bringing them into your company and kind of giving them that purpose. Um, how are you finding these good people?
Uh, Cheat code for this is live a very virtuous life, treat everybody insanely well, and magically, when you need humans, you can reach out to your network and people will think fondly of you and your company. That is the long play. That's the sustainable play.
Mhm.
I've I deep dived probably about 10 years ago into, the Craigslist, the Indeed, the ZipRecruiter, the Facebook, everything else to try to find a system where I can find stranger employees, right? And it
Mhm.
worked for a while, but man, you're going to go through 30 to 1 to find one good one. And that's super expensive, especially when you scale. So
Yeah.
now we've right sized the business. We don't actually need all that many people all that often if you have the right systems in place. So now, when we need somebody for a leadership team, it's really all just network. Who do you know? And when we need painters, it's probably half network. And then half, we'll put some ads out and see who comes in. But really, what you're doing is I go to people that I trust. Like there's a
Okay.
business owner in town in a completely different trade and just say, hey, listen, I'm looking for people. Do you know anybody who might be a good fit for my company? Or we have our happy hours down at our local brewery, and you'll
Mhm.
you'll see somebody down there, and you'll be just, hey, listen, we're hiring. I'm not asking you if you want a job, but do you know anybody who kind of fits our core values and wants to be here? And they would have seen our company gather for happy hours, the fun we're having, and
Yeah.
that's been a really, really good way forward for us. So
Okay. I feel like you kind of embody the you become or you attract what you become. Is
yeah,
that is that
good way to put it.
I don't see too many other painting business owners like going in the I see your morning on Instagram you do your morning uh why am I sauna. Yeah, that's
Yep,
the word I was looking at. Yeah.
yep,
I don't hear many business owners tell me that they meditate before work or anything like that.
yeah.
And I feel like you're really diligent on this, trying to attract what you become, and I think that's great. So good on you.
No,
Awesome.
thank you.
Um, I think that this can kind of be, scaling, becoming a leader can kind of be a daunting task to a lot of people. Um, and, I'm trying to do the same thing myself. I'm still not great at it at all. But I'm learning.
Yep.
And I feel like it can be a daunting task. So what are some of the like quick, easy wins, like maybe like the two takeaways that somebody can, get from this podcast saying, okay, do I check out PCA to learn more? Do I go through one of your programs to learn a little bit more? Like what are the easy actionables that I can kind of give somebody in this position uh, after watching this?
Yeah. I think the getting resources is a big thing. The PCA, the Painting Contractors Association, is a 140-year-old nonprofit that actually goes back another 60 years to 1820 when the origins of it there. So we're talking about a 200-year-old nonprofit that serves to build a better industry and a better contractor. And all of the things that I've learned about management and leadership and even self have been learned through my connections there. So if you want to talk about like top of the funnel stuff, access to all the solutions you ever need, I've
Yeah,
found through the humans in the PCA. Now you can say, well, what about job costing or how do I find an accountant? You
yeah,
start here and all these people will help you with that. It is the cheat code. It's like the manual to the video game back in the day.
yeah,
That's been it for me. And I think maybe outside of even a resource, I mean, Ask a Painter is always a resource. It's free. It's there. I give away all my templates. But I think one thing that somebody should take away is you're probably a bad manager or a non-existent manager, right? If your people keep turning over, if jobs don't go as well, it's because you're driving around in your truck, visioning, selling jobs, and you're not supporting your people. And I just want to be honest because I've been that guy too. So
hmm
starting with a base of you're probably not a manager and you probably will never be one. You can try to force yourself to be a manager, but that's hard, man. That is hard. Years of work, consistent work. It goes everything against your personality, right? And so you have some choices, right? Like even me at a large professional business, I can't afford a general manager right now. So the choice is, Nick, you either make yourself a functioning manager or you pay for one. Can't pay for one, so I have no choice but to do this. Turns
yeah,
out I find some peace with it. But knowing that about yourself and about our industry is probably a good thing to take along with you on this journey because the things that you're going to be asked to do, if you want to scale and become a manager, are probably two of the hardest things, not technically, but spiritually. It goes against your personality, and knowing
yeah.
that is just a good thing sometimes.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Can you tell me a little bit about like what you do, a little bit more about, more about Ask a Painter, more about the retreat that you offer? Like, what are some of the things you're doing outside of your painting company? And like, how can people find value in that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, like if you want to talk um, dollar per pound value, there's really not many other places besides the PCA and Ask a Painter you're going to find any of this stuff. Like
Mhm.
I'm on my 443rd show. It's each one is about an hour. I give away
Mhm.
my email address. I give away all my templates, free resources, things that have helped me, things that people have given me and I modified for my company. I answer all the emails when people email me for help. I'll give you direct examples from my company. This morning, half an hour before I came on here, somebody sent me an entire page of bulleted point questions about company vehicles. I answered every freaking one of those things. I just went right down the line in blue font. I just want to help people just like people have helped me. So is an immense amount of resources there. And yes, there's going to be job costing templates. And yes, there's going to be how to paint a wall, standard operating procedures. But in the last 2 to 3 years, Ask a Painter has followed the arc of my professional inquiries, which is if you want to go from being a visionary and a technician and a salesperson to a manager of a very large professional painting company, Ask a
Mhm.
Painter is a hell of a good resource. You can follow me week by week on my journey to do that. So it's a resource you're probably not going to find anywhere else in the industry.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, even just the live aspect, like, I don't know anybody else that does a live show like this where you can, sit down and use the resources. And I think you kind of touched on that, a little bit earlier, but the resources, I feel like they're out there, man. Like they're all free. You can YouTube University your way to 10 million a year if you really wanted to. You know,
Mhm.
um, but I do think that going that extra step of dropping your humility for a second and just being like, hey man, I don't know what I'm doing. You're the expert. Can you like just point me in the right direction?
Yep.
Um, it's a lot of people I think do kind of have that like, oh, I'll figure it out myself, mentality, which is, I admire that and it's strong, but it's not going to get you like the fast result. It it kind of reminds me of this uh, quote that I don't know if this is good or bad, but it says, "Good businesses copy, great businesses steal." So, in school, growing up, we were always taught like, oh, like don't ask somebody a question, don't copy, don't cheat, things like that. Which, like, I'm not enforcing cheating here, but if you can go to somebody that says, "Hey, listen, man, you solved this exact problem. You've been doing this for 10 years. Just tell me exactly what needs to be done."
Yeah,
You know, that really is kind of the cheat code there, and that is an amazing resource for that.
it is.
Um,
It's a that quote is a little bit hyperbolic. It's a little bit spicy to invoke people, but it's not false. And even when you look at like a book like Traction, it's an operating system for a business. All it is the condensation of 50 years worth of business knowledge. It's
yeah,
they didn't come up with anything new. Oh, imagine that. Support your people and have regular meetings. Do job
yeah,
costing, set goals, work towards those goals. Like, wow, man, it's
yeah,
there's nothing you're going to do in your business, in any business, that is so new and novel. Now,
yeah,
when you look at SpaceX or Netflix, or there's innovators that can do technically different things, but those businesses aren't run any different than any other people. The
yeah,
difference is the humans in those that make world-class businesses over a very long period of time. Once in a while, Nvidia will come upon a chip. It's a monopoly. It'll rocket through the sky market. That is an anomaly. That doesn't happen all the time. Sooner or later, all these companies go down to basic business principles. They may have a sexy little chip or a spacecraft, but literally it's just basic business principles.
I feel like it's really good to remind ourselves of those things. We had to remind ourselves of a lot of those internally to help us, become better. We did like a whole competitor analysis, like, okay, why are our competitors doing better than us? What are we not doing that they're doing? Like answering these important questions to just help us kind of surround ourselves with those good people and become better because of it. Um, So what is kind of, where can people go to, I know you have Ask a Painter and a couple other places. Like where can people kind of go to learn a little bit more about you, kind of, get into your ecosystem?
Yeah, so I laid down about 8 or 10 years worth of content out there. So really, if you type in Nick Slavik or Ask a Painter, I mean, it's kind of overwhelming and it's hard to know where to start sometimes. So I would say that Ask a Painter. Facebook is probably the largest, most complete archive. YouTube, we're actually doing a full update of all 440 shows, give or take. And then the PCA, the PCApainted.org. That's literally like outside of the Ask a Painter resources, I am one of about 30 resources within PCA. So that tells you the rigorousness of which we offer our people resources.
I feel like we kind of covered a lot here today. Is there anything that you feel like, we kind of missed out on or anything kind of you wanted to add here for dessert?
No, I think the last thing I will say is each year, typically after the start of the year, I go through a series of Ask a Painter live shows called Mastering the Basics. And I literally have a one pager called Steps to Professionalization. It's step 1 through 8. I devote one show per week. So we're looking at anywhere between 8 and 10 weeks where I literally march down that thing. It's going to be free. It's going to be after the start of the year. I use a lot of resources from industry partners. And we ask and answer live questions on the internet. And honestly, if you want a free weekly boot camp like professional coaching would give you for $3,000 a month, that's coming up after the first of the years. And that's a series of shows that is the most popular, most watched, most commented, most shared in the year.
Guys, I have talked to a lot of people in this industry, and after this conversation, I can confidently say that Nick is one of the most knowledgeable guys that I have ever talked to in this industry.
Thank you.
So he has my full endorsement. I will leave a laundry list of links where you can
Awesome.
find him. You can take a look at his business, go to Ask a Painter Live, and learn a little bit more. Here's my ask here for you guys. Okay, it's about to be the new year. Okay. If you're watching this maybe a little bit later, maybe it already is. But you have an abundance of resources. There are so many resources out there. You can take your business to wherever you want it to be with just the free resources online.
Yep.
But you have to do them. You have to actually take action on them. And one thing I'll throw in there is that when you are using those resources, really they're gonna get you like even the best resources in the world are gonna get you like 95% of the way there. They're gonna get you almost there. But no one is gonna get you that extra 5% other than you. You have to take action. You have to put them into play here. So that's my ask. Go check out some of the links below to learn a little bit more about Nick. Nick, it was a pleasure, man. Thank you for joining us here today.
Yeah, great conversation, man. I appreciate this.
Of course. You all have a great and amazing day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.